just 2 rounds remaining in the championship, the iRacing Grand Prix Series is taking a step back to Formula One's roots as it returns to Watkins Glen for round 11 of the season, and you're going to get to see all of the action unfold live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi everyone, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth today is Adam Young. Behind the scenes we have our director Amjad Yamin. He's doing all of the button pushing using camera sets provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, last week we were at another US Grand Prix circuit, and that was the Circuit of the Americas down in Texas. But that circuit could not be any more different to what the drivers are facing here today.
Yeah, of course, go down to COTA, and it's a more of a modern circuit. I mean, it's wide. You have lots of runoff in places. Where at Watkins Glen, well, you run off the track, and there's a lot of places we're going to meet in that blue Armco really fast. Of course, here today we're going to be running the classic boot layout in the 11 turns of really kind of it's probably a lot of people's favorite racetrack, favorite U.S. road course on this 11-turn layout, and I think these McLaren's going to be able to put on a pretty good show out there here for it today. Of course, track length 3.4 miles, 5.47 kilometers for our international viewers here today, and of course, Watkins Glen, if you remember, going back into the 50s, it used to be ran on the local streets, but now not so much. We have the permanent road course since about 56, and this classic boot layout has been a part of that for almost that entire time. So with that, hey, we brought out the Lotus 79 car here for today. We're going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a retro look at Watkins Glen.
All right, we've got Amjad Yamin in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Watkins Glen. Coming down to turn 1, this is an excellent place to pass, but it's also super easy to overshoot. It's downhill as you're braking, so the issue gets compounded even if you're only slightly past your mark. Climbing back up the hill, the draft in the Lotus is going to leave a huge hole in the air. That means you'll see drivers pulling someone in from a long ways back. There's no lifting all the way through these S's, and since this layout skips the bus stop, you don't touch the brakes until the carousel. That means a lot of swapping positions will be taking place down this backstretch. Best to pick your line early and make your intentions clear. For the banked carousel, it's a very fast entry, so the brave drivers will really reap the benefits if they can be consistent. With the high speeds, little incidents will become big ones in a hurry. After that, switch sides quick and set up for the chute. This is a corner where being able to late apex tends to be a better line, but it's tricky to get just right. After that, we come to the lowest part of the circuit at the toe of the boot. This is a spot where you might see drivers try to overtake, but if you can get a better launch off the corner than your opponent, it's very possible to get the spot back. This climb is incredibly steep, so momentum is your friend. And the heel of the boot is another place where passing isn't uncommon, so you'll get a good chance to outbrake your opponent. Watch out for the inside curves, because some of the taller ones will upset the car very badly. By now, we're getting back to the main part of the circuit. The crest and off-camber nature of turn 9 makes it tricky enough, but on-throttle oversteer on turn exit just complicates things further, as Amjad shows here. Indianapolis has some banking, but even with all the downforce of the Lotus, it's not quite flat out. Finally, we hit the last turn, which has the barrier right at the edge of the track. Treat it more like a street course to save the car. Hopefully you've hit all your marks and have now finished a lap around Watkins Glen.
And now let's jump forward 40 years where we have 21st century Formula One cars currently turning laps around at the Watkins Glen circuit. Qualifying is underway for 21 drivers. Speaking of the drivers and speaking of the championship, we're in round 11 of 12. Here are the drivers who have been with us all season long, competing up the top here in these official series point standings, already accounting for the 4 drop weeks, and with that, Tommy Osgard has a massive lead over Harrison Finch, a driver in the background currently on screen. Matteo Calistani there in 3rd, Manu Domingo in 4th, Jorge Montañez there in 5th. And the great thing, of course, about this being the premier official racing league, if you will, on iRacing, Adam, at least on the roadside, is that the drivers who do finish at the end of on top at the end of these standings have a chance to compete in the iRacing World Championship next year.
Yeah, that's right. You know, of course, you got to use usual competitions in oval and road, depending on what flavor of racing you like. And this is part of that ladder. That so you see a lot of guys up here, a lot of top name drivers that trying to get themselves that black stripe. In a lot of cases, some of these guys already have their black stripe.
Well, we are all too aware that the Monaco Grand Prix is currently going on, but we have some Formula One racing here too. The rules very much the same. Let's take a look at them, Adam.
Yeah, go ahead and we'll pop those up. Of course, race details here for today. We're running 11 of 12 for the rounds. And, of course, they do get those 4 drop weeks, just like any other iRacing official series. The car is the McLaren MP4-30. Now, remember, with this car, it doesn't have the current aero package that the current Formula One cars have. So a little bit less downforce usually makes for some more interesting racing. Of course, these guys are running open setups so they can do with the cars as they need to get them comfortable. We're running 36 laps here for today, and that should be a quick 36 laps, Sam. And of course, the points are running the official iRacing points.
Several of our big names out there qualifying right now. We got Ricardo Orozco, Harrison Finch, Pev is back here. I believe he was actually a bottom split racer last week. I'm sure he did well down in that bottom split. Manu Domingo and Jorge Montañez. Talking about the splits, just one split going on right now. I have a feeling the fact the Monaco Grand Prix is on in the biggest area of motorsports has hindered attendance for this race. The good news, Adam, is we still have a 21 car field. Should be plenty of close and exciting racing out here for these 36 laps.
Well, you had 21 cars on the grid. I mean, that'll make it a little bit closer to the real thing, right, as far as the number of cars?
And also a range of experience levels. We're going to see the likes of some of our drivers we saw up there fighting for the championship up front, and drivers at the back who may just be getting their feet wet in this car. You know, maybe they've been racing Formula Renault all season long and thinking, hey, I want to try and do all 12 weeks in next upcoming iRacing official season. Maybe I need to get a couple of practice races in under my belt. And this is a good track to do it. Watkins Glen, let's be honest, is not one of the trickier road courses for these F1 cars, although we ride on board Harrison Finch through that turn 10 left-hander. That is definitely one of the trickiest turns out there.
Oh, it can be, you know, and there's a number of places out there that can be really tricky. Of course, we talk about there, turn 1, carousel, the boot. Those are all going to be passing zones, but I also like to think of them as danger zones too. My particular danger zone on this track, and it doesn't really matter what car I'm driving on this track for me, is always turn 1. Now, granted, there's a lot of runoff there. If you have any kind of contact, I mean, it's possible that the only damage you're going to get is the damage from the car-to-car contact, because you should be able to get it stopped by the time you hit a wall. But at the same time, if you have anything happen to you there, you're going to lose a ton of time. And as you know, in these Formula One races, same time is everything. I mean, you're racing the clock almost as much as you're racing everybody else out there, just because, you know, passing's tough in some of these cars, and especially this McLaren, and with the wake and everything else the way it is, it's a challenge. You don't want to lose any time at all, so avoiding turn 1 is going to be a big thing. Another
thing that I don't think is going to be as tough today, Adam, is tyre wear. I don't feel that Watkins Glen is the most abrasive track on tyres. You only have 11 turns around here, 36 laps. So actually, you could do the math in your head. That's 396 turns over the course of the whole race. Plenty of time to cool these tyres down on those long straights. The track temperatures are quite cool today. And one thing that separates the iRacing F1 racing from real-world F1 racing is you are not required to make a pit stop at all. There's only one compound of tyres on iRacing. They're all starting on it. Will we see some drivers opt to not pit today?
If it was me, I would try the no pit stop strategy, especially if you're one of the guys maybe that usually runs mid-pack. I mean, why not? You don't have a lot to lose. You hit the nail on the head by saying tire wear isn't that aggressive here. You know, particularly if you're going through the carousel and you're able to take care of your tires through there, because that's a really high-speed corner. I mean, it can be a little bit of abrasive on tires, especially in some of the heavier cars. But in these light Formula One cars, I think people should be able to not avoid having to take a pit stop if they can.
And you see at the top of your screen there, we haven't really been talking about qualifying much, but that's what these drivers have been doing, and we've been catching it all on screen for you. Look how close the times are at the top of the field. 0.02 of a second set in provisional or pole set at Ricardo Orozco ahead of Harrison Finch. But not only that, the drivers currently lined up in 3rd and 4th, and it looks like that's where they're going to start because qualifying is ending right now. Jorge Montañez and Pello Pev, they are within the same 100th of a second. 500ths of a second covering the top 4. Let's take a look at them now that qualifying is officially over. Ricardo Orozco, Harrison Finch, Jorge Montañez, Pello Pev, Bill Fraser and CM Skinner on row 3 ahead of Matteo Calastani and Manu Domingo. Jan Brzezina and Luca Ferlich round out the top 10.
Yeah, going up to 11th, you will find Marco Comatardi, David Cudmore, Pablo Lombarez Suarez, Bruno Canavas in 14th in the outside of row 7, Claudio Canedo in the inside of row 8, Ali Kwaka in 16th position, Swafi Erevan in row 9, Amar Farad, Abdul Ghani in 18th position, Azil Nazali in row 10, and Richard Driscoll in row 20. And just to round out, we just got one more driver back there. That's going to be Stephen Walter starting shotgun on the field.
So the cars getting gridded up on the front straight, all behind the number 1 machine of Ricardo Orozco. There you see that white and orange McLaren sitting on the number 1 stall, these open setups. So all these drivers have scrapped their qualifying setups, loaded their race setups with a full tank of fuel on board. No refueling, of course, in these cars. Back here, looking at Matteo Calastani, he is going to be starting from 7th position. And also Bill Fraser, the traditional McLaren colours, looking back here. Ollie Croker rolling off towards the back of the field around 16th out of the 21 cars on the grid, 18 of which set times. About 20 more seconds before we roll them off officially. Always helps when the drivers have their last names on the rear wings. Plus the other drivers on track know who they're racing around as well. All right, within 10 seconds, the lights will start coming on. Have a few drivers at the back who look like they're going to pit start. Lots of big points up for grabs today, considering some big names aren't here, and the lights are about to come on. The engine's about to get revved up. Ricardo Orozco, Harrison Finch on the front row here for 36 laps at the Watkins Glen Classic boot configuration. The lights off and away they go. A nice start by Orozco, a horrible start by Finch. Montaña's going to take advantage down the inside. He moves up into 2nd. Finch is down to 3rd. Pev in 4th, and then they're side by side from 5th on back.
Yeah, it looks like everybody, for the most part, was able to get through turn 1 without any kind of contact, but now we're heading up the hill.
Even at these easy S's, you have those walls along the sides ready to bite you if you get it wrong. These drivers getting a tremendous slipstream down the back straight, but no one having anything from Orozco yet. Of course, DRS won't come into play for a couple more laps. 19 cars actually gridded up eventually. 1 car started from the pits. That was Claudio Candio. 1 car I'm not seeing out there at all. That's Richard Driscoll, and actually is not in the service. So 20 cars racing, and right now at the front of them all is Orozco. 2nd safely is Montañez. Finch has a bit of a train behind him for 3rd.
Of course, Roscoe is looking, I believe, for his first win here for this season. He's had a couple of good finishes, but it's also had a couple of bad ones as well, with some trouble in Suzuka earlier this year. But it looks like here, at least so far, he's through the first 3/4 of the lap at Watkins Glen, good and clear. But you can bet that Montañez and Finch are going to be putting the pressure on him here, especially once that DRS kicks in here in a little bit.
1 lap already completed of 36 round here at Watkins Glen. They are going to go by in a hurry. The qualifying times were in the 1:17, so we'll wait to see what the lap times are next lap around, because, of course, they're all just getting up to speed right now. Ghani ran wide from 16th place in turn 1, and Arifin took advantage of that and moved up a position, but now we've got back for 3rd.
Yeah, it looks like Finch already having to defend from Peeve, is the Russian almost had a really good look on him, but not able to get alongside of him, complete the pass. Finch able to drive that defensive line, but now as we go through the boot section of the course, he's going to have to try his best to keep him behind him, but I think right now Peeve deciding that discretion's the better part of valor. he might just hold position here for just a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think Pev has, I mean, we've known him as a front runner. He hasn't really sealed the deal this year. I don't believe we've seen him get a podium finish. His I rating wasn't high enough to get him up in the tremendous top split we had last week. He was running in contention for the win at the start of the season at Spa, but blew that one with a spin late on in the going. Right now, he's going to try, he's definitely thinking about the podium today with Finch running in third, not too far ahead of him.
Meanwhile, up front, Ricardo is continuing to run away now, about almost 9/10 of a second lead on your second place runner right now, Jorge Montanez. Is Montanez coming up through the S's, trying to do his best to gain any little bit of an advantage, but right now losing, I would say, probably about a 10th a lap. I think is probably what you're going to see the average here is. It's going to be interesting to see what DRS does for him as DRS does kick on, going down that back straightaway, and see if it is able to gain him here anytime.
Asriel Nasli had an error on lap number 2, which dropped him to the back of the 20-car field, but he's still out there running on the lead lap, about half a minute back of our overall leader, Ricardo Orozco, though. And it should be mentioned to any people just tuning in or only listening to the broadcast and not watching it, when we say Ricardo, we're talking about Ricardo Orozco currently leading the race. We're going to try and not bring in any Monaco Grand Prix spoilers during this broadcast.
Already tried tricking Sam with a spoiler earlier, a fake spoiler. It didn't work, so I think you guys are safe right now, at least on that end.
All right.
Everybody being pretty tame here so far. We've seen some of these races get a little exciting, especially in the second half of the race. Right now, I would say one of the closer battles on track. You actually have to go back to 13th and 14th through. Bruno Canavas doing his best right now to hold David Cudmore behind him with only about 0.3 of a second gap here. We'll follow Cudmore as he goes down the back straightaway. We should see that DRS kick on, but the DRS also going to kick on for Bruno Canavas as he is within range of the car in front of him as well. So that advantage for David Cudmore is not going to be as much as what I think he was hoping for.
Yeah, all of that going on behind Ollie Croak, who's kind of been the big move at the start. He started 16th and is up to 11th. Meanwhile, there has been a pass very recently involving Jan Brzezina. Here is a replay of it. He has gotten by Matteo Calistani's teammates. My guess is that Calistani probably made this easy for him. We pick it up on a replay here on the back straight. Looks like he's going to get DRS, and my guess is Calistani would have just yielded the position in the braking zone for the carousel.
Yeah, sometimes that's just a smart thing to do right now, especially if you're teammates. I mean, you don't ever want to wreck your teammate. We've already seen that a couple of times this year, especially in real life. We'll leave that alone. But these guys, playing nice with each other, yielding that position, and maybe he'll get him back later. Maybe they're going to be on different pit stop strategies too. Don't know. But that's going to be one of those things that only time will tell, as we're already working our way about halfway through lap 5 now.
Yeah, and you may have seen about 10 seconds ago at the top of your screen, going purple was Bill Fraser, currently running in 5th position. Haven't mentioned him a lot today. A 1:19.647, currently the fastest lap of the race. But even then, that was only by 1/1000th of a second. Jorge Montañez ran a 1:19.648 last lap around. So the drivers are putting on very close times up front early on.
Yeah, I mentioned that Montanez was losing ground to Orozco about a 10th of a lap a little while ago. Well, now that's actually reversed as Montanez starting to slowly gain ground on Ricardo. Just a little bit at a time, but a little bit at a time is all he needs, still with about 30 laps left to go here for today. That DRS really helping him out. But don't forget that Montanez also still has a little bit of pressure from his teammate Harrison Finch right behind him, who in turn has some pressure from Pieve right behind him. Of course, Pieve looking for one of his better finishes of the season so far, so expect him to be trying to put up a little bit of pressure, maybe even try to get on that podium here over the course of the next little bit.
Now, you were mentioning the two leaders there, Ricardo Orozco, and how he hasn't been able to seal the deal yet this season with a win. Jorge Montañez has. He was able to do that all the way back at the Nürburgring, which we broadcast live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. However, he has had a couple of rough races, been complaining about the track temperature for a couple of them. The races, they just weren't hooking up with these tyres. However, things seem to be going well for him today. He's less than a second back of Orozco. Early stages here, so even though these drivers are putting on relatively close times, we don't know which of them are struggling to put on those times and really burning up their tyres, and which of those are taking a conservative pace right now and maybe thinking about going to the end.
Well, I have to see. I mean, I would expect that tire wear would be good enough where you might not even need to necessarily take that conservative approach. You might just be able to lay into it and just hope for the best. But these guys here so far not really showing any signs of laying off, especially up at the front. But you know, that's gonna be, as we keep mentioning, that's gonna be something that's gonna be a storyline here for today, especially if you're just joining us amidst the start of the race. One of the questions is going to be: is anybody gonna try a one-stop strategy? Is anybody gonna try a no-stop strategy? They can carry enough fuel to get the rest of the way. The question is gonna be tires. We're thinking tire wear maybe won't be so bad, but that is a storyline we're keeping an eye on.
And one problem I've had here historically with Watkins Glen while competing on iRacing, Adam, and granted it could have been the weather conditions of the day, is that in the Lotus 79 as well as the Formula One car, I've experienced races here where taking new tyres, they're very tricky when you get back out there on course because it's such a fast race circuit. Those cold tyres do not behave as well as you'd like them to for the opening lap or two once you do make a pit stop.
That's right. And remember, in real life, this track was repaved, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. I could be seeing the years blend together here, but we still have the kind of older surface here in iRacing. And now, what that means, though, is that it's grittier, it's a little dirtier. It's going to wear the tires a little bit more. Now, I know we've been saying I don't think tire wear is going to be as big of an issue here for today, but on new tires, what that's going to do is it's going to take a little bit longer for them, I think, to come in and come up to temperature and everything else. So that's going to be something else to think about, too. I mean, I can tell you from experience running the Corvette DP here that new tires, not something you want, as it looks like we might have a pass for second here going on, as indeed Harrison Finch able to get to the inside of Jorge Montez, but we're also looking at Amir having a little bit of an issue, a little bit of a spin, but he's able to get things righted going away. We're going to go ahead and take a look here at the replay for the pass for second here.
Yep, so we were watching a replay there of a pretty cool 360 by Amir Ghani, and he was able to get the car going again. But as you mentioned, it's a battle for second have been closing in. Another easy DRS overtake between Positive Team Sport teammates. For second place, Finch started there. He lost it off of the line, and now he's gotten it back. So during that spin, that 360 we saw for Amir Farid Abdul Ghani, he did lose the position to Saafo Arifin, and I just want to give Arifin a shout out because I haven't seen a Mercedes painted McLaren before, and that looks pretty cool.
Hey, you know, whatever gets you by. But, yeah, especially I do like the fact that it is kind of the older school Mercedes paint scheme there. I mean, that's the one that Lewis Hamilton ran right there at the start of his career, isn't it?
Maybe his career with Mercedes, and it would make sense. I mean, these McLarens out there racing out there are a few years old now. Harrison Finch, ever since he got by Montañez for second, is running Orozco down.
Oh yeah, he was a half second faster than Orozco that last time by. So Harrison Finch now deciding that now is the time I want to move to the front, and not a lot stopping him right now from moving up to the front. So he wants to, he's also one of those drivers that does have an ambition of possibly going pro and earning his black stripe here before too long, and he did a pretty good job last time out at COTA from coming in second after sitting on the pole. So he's hungry for a race win, especially since I think we got some of the regulars that aren't necessarily here for today. Maybe they're watching the Real World Monaco Grand Prix on TV, or hey, maybe even some of them are lucky enough to be there. Who knows? But right now, Finch definitely trying to take advantage of the situation.
had our first pit stop of a race. Unfortunately, a very long time Stephen Walter's been sitting in there. I have a feeling there might be more to that. I did see him have an off-course earlier. I think he'd avoided contact with the wall, but I could be wrong there. So not a good race for Stephen Walter behind the wheel of a number 21 machine. Things going well for the driver of a number 1 machine, as we mentioned, Orozco, because it looks like he's been able to put a bit of a gap on Finch. I wonder if he... and we got a battle going on back here, and easily done. Fraser kind of handed it to Brazina there.
You're hearing something's going on with Liam Skinner.
That is not good. Did he get a wheel off going up the S's and lost the back end? Oh, does he get hit? No! Nice evasive action there. Ooh. That was that Ollie Croker or was that Luca Furlick?
Yeah, it looks like it was Luca Furlick, and just narrowly avoiding here. Hold on to your seats, because this is going to get really close. You're going to see Skinner catch the back end and not be able to catch it when it comes back around on him. And that nose almost clipped not only the right front, but the right rear there of Luca Furlick's car. But able to get away, able to continue on. CM Skinner, on the other hand, is done for the day after ending up on his lick.
Yeah, we saw Amir Farid Abdulghani had to spin not too long ago. I guess he had another one because he's now sitting in the pits for an extensive amount of time. Nice battle for 11th going on track as they go down the pit straight. Ollie Croker ahead.
Speaking of nice battle, Finch making a move on the lead. Ricardo Orozco not fighting back too hard. I think he knows that Finch is faster. Finch is going to go around the outside, around the carousels, and head down into the boot.
Now, could this be the difference between a driver accepting he's going to make a pit stop later on and a driver just taking it calm right now? Because Orozco definitely seemed to give up that battle for the lead quite easily, and Finch and Bill Fraser is off behind him from 6th place. He's in the wall. He's out of the race.
Take a look at the replay here on the GSRC machine. It's coming up. And we're seeing Bill Fraser as he goes down in the boot. Is there any kind of contact, or does he just put a wheel off and lose the back end here? Under acceleration there, puts it into the tires. And, yeah, that's going to be a race ender for sure. Usually you end up in those tires, you're going to have some sort of suspension damage. We're going to ride along board here. Sam?
Yes, very easy corner to make a mistake, unfortunately. Normally because you put a wheel off there just because he got on the gas a little bit too hard for the traction of the car. Let's give a shout out to the positive Team Sport racing drivers right now. They are absolutely dominating this thing. Harrison Finch races for them. He's leading the race. Montañez is back there in 3rd. Brazina in 5th. Calastani in 6th. Domingo in 7th. Only 2 cars in the top 7. Peyo Pev in 4th place, and there's a lead change. I think.
Yeah, he's trying to use the lap traffic to take advantage right there, and Orozco is trying to make a play back on the lead right now. Sam, I'm wondering if the difference is the DRS, because it really seems like the car behind has the advantage right now.
Yeah, well, there goes my theory of Orozco taking it easy to conserve his tires.
Now, also, I'm noticing, and Sam, you've got a little bit more experience in these McLaren F1 cars than I do. I'll readily admit that. But at some point, Ricardo, and I think he might have grazed the arm coat just a little bit to give him some front wing damage. Is that going to be enough to affect him?
The problem with that, because I see it too, the front wing damage on his car, is that if Orozco does have to make a stop, I don't think there's a way he can opt out of that front wing repair. I have a feeling he's going to have to pretty much take a 5-second penalty to get a new nose on.
All right, so that right there could be leading it. If he wasn't planning on a no-stop strategy before, he might be now, depending on how well his car holds up here. Let's see here, going down the back straightaway. I'm very interested to see once that DRS kicks in what he's able to do here. We're going to never battle for the track.
Oh, Mirko has made a mistake there.
Oh, and Amir Ghani has decided to call it a day. As you look at Mirko there, oh, did he avoid the sand bins there at the end of the pit wall, or did he? Yeah, I think he got into him a little bit.
Well, I found what triggered the damage for Ricardo Orozco when he was getting that run on Harrison Finch a moment ago, when I was talking about how the positive team sport drivers are dominating this race up front right now. When he was getting that nice toe up through the S's, he actually clipped the right turn barrier right before they go on to the back straight, and that is what's triggered that damage to his front wing.
And I did go back and find out what happened to Amir Ghani. Of course, we watched his spin and recovery earlier on, but going up through the S's, he wasn't able to save a spin a couple of laps ago and put it hard into the Armco. His day is done from there.
And I think this is our first scheduled stop of a race. Manu Domingo in the pits. The significant thing here, of course, is he is one of those 5 positive team sport drivers we've been talking about up front. So does this mean the positive team sport cars are all committed to a stop? Ollie Croak also in behind him. Ricardo Orozco, despite that damage, he's not letting Finch get away, but I wonder if the fact that he has that damage and he would have to stop for that front wing repair is going to affect his strategy.
Here's what I was wondering about when that damage occurred, is because of the way it occurred, if it would actually stick. And I'm not seeing it anymore here, Sam, so it could just be one of those sim racing quirks that sometimes you run into. So I think he's okay for now. Okay, you're good to go back on whatever strategy you were planning on there, Ricardo, as your front wing looks good now.
Lap 14 in the books for the leaders. So these cars who have already came into the pits, my guess at the end of lap 13 out of 36 is they're still looking at a one-stop strategy there, because the last 23 laps won't be too abrasive on their tires because they're carrying a lot less fuel now. But maybe we won't see any zero stoppers, but how deep into the race can these drivers go? Of course, we're approaching the halfway point in 3 laps' time.
Well, that might just be the point. Break the race up in 2 segments, one half, and let it go from there. Ooh, as I'm just watching Ricardo Orozco, and very, very close to putting that wheel off into the gravel there on the exit of turn 8, and that's a problem with a lot of, if I can talk, that'd be fantastic. Turn 6, and that could be a problem there. Is sometimes that gravel gets on those rear tires and wants to spin you around. We've already seen it here for this race, and Orozco almost ended up with that.
Manu Domingo has lost the connection, so we're not going to be able to find out if that short stop strategy works for him. Meanwhile, Azriel Nasli, who have been running towards the
here we go.
Of course,
Orozco is coming in. And I think that's Montanez behind him. Okay, so that rules out the whole no-stop strategy, I think, for our leaders. But our leader right now, Harrison Finch, is continuing to turn laps while his 2 closest competitors coming down pit road.
Yeah, the tyres were starting to fall off. They've been running 1:19s pretty much all race long. Now the time's down in the 1:20s and 1:21s. So Orozco comes in right ahead of Montañez. Will roll out right ahead of Montañez. Let's see how they come out into relation to Finch. Now, Orozco had his tyres over the yellow line there. Hopefully he doesn't pick up a penalty for that.
Be interesting to see here, too, because keep in mind that if these guys are able to start laying down 119s again, Harrison Finch is going to lose about almost a second a lap every lap he stays out there. And already, with just staying out 1 lap, he's already down that second. He might not come out in the lead once everything's said and done here. It might be pretty close if he doesn't come in soon, unless he's on that no-stop strategy. If he stays out, he might be okay.
Well, it's a very long pit road here at Watkins Glen. Pit delta, though, nothing out of the ordinary. It's 24 to 28 seconds. Finch is coming in. So Finch stayed out a lap longer on those older tyres. Will that cost him second position to Montañez? Pev stays out. He leads the race. Brazina Kalistani also yet to stop.
And here comes Orzako. Orzako's coming back in, so maybe you're right. Maybe he did get a penalty. Now it's very close with Montanez. Montanez now coming into turn 1 and leaving his teammate in the dust.
And the long stop for Finch. This is not good for Harrison Finch. It may be as a speeding penalty coming down pit road. He had to sit in his pit stall a bit longer.
We'll see here if Orzako is going to be a stop and go as the jacks go up and he comes back down. I think he took tires that time there.
Oh yeah, they're always. Oh, you're saying when he came in to serve his penalty?
Yeah, just now. So the complexion of the front of this field is now going to be completely changed, and that, at least right now, leaves Peo Piaf up there in the lead.
What a bizarre...
He decides at the last minute to come down.
Yeah, Pev comes in, Brzezina comes in, Kalistani comes in, so they're all doing this one stopper. They've chosen just to do it at different times. So, Jorge Montañez is pretty much going to go from racing in 3rd place to in the lead because the 2 drivers in front of him did not have a good round of pit stops. And in fact, Brzezina comes out in 3rd place. So Peo Pev, our one leader who has yet to make a pit stop, unless I'm mistaken there. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, he just made his pit stop. So, man, all of a sudden we have Montañez up in the lead, Pev in 2nd place, Brzezina in 3rd, Finch is a speeding penalty, which got off easy compared to some of his teammates or other competitors up there. So that just drops him back to 4th ahead of Matteo Calistani, rounding out the top 5 right now.
Yeah, so we're right. The top half of this field, the complexion is totally different than what it was just a couple minutes ago. In fact, the only constant right now seems to be Montanez. As Ricardo trying to recover at least one more spot of what he lost. It looks like he's trying to chase down Quokka right now. And also on your screen, you know, we see that battle with the lap times right now. Orzako might be able. I don't think Quokka's come in yet. Has he come in yet?
No,
Sam? Yeah. Okay, so we are hearing that he has, so maybe only a second or 2 difference on the lap times, but the longer that Orzako stays back there behind him, the tougher he's going to have any type of chances of gaining any more positions here down the line.
Yeah, that is correct, actually. That Quokka made an early pit stop, that's right. I'm trying to work out how he was up so high in the order. Yeah, he made an early pit stop, so he was able to use undercut to gain a lot of positions there. I don't know if a 2-stop strategy will be worth it, but the way Orozco just blew by him there, maybe that is something he'll have to consider in the later stages.
Oh, Pev's around. Turn 2, spun. He's trying to get straightened out.
Keeps it off the walls, but it does cost him 2nd place to Jan Brzezina.
Looks like he just gets the rears lit up just a little bit too much. The car gets pretty light right there, and on the gas a little bit too much causes it to loop around and does back it into the Armco a little bit. I don't think enough to really... the rear wing looks a little bent, but it's not bad. But even then, I mean, he's going to be having to watch out for Harrison Finch now coming up here in 4th.
Arifin have been as high as 6th place, having not pit yet. He now comes in for his pit stop, and he'll have some faster new tyres to make it to the end. Meanwhile, we're watching this battle for 3rd because Pev's spin may have cost him more than just 1 spot.
Yeah, he's really having to fight Harrison Finch right now. And of course, behind Finch, you have Kyle Stani, who's back there as well. That's going to be something to keep an eye on too. But Pev could actually end up losing quite a bit of ground here over the course of the next lap or two, unless he's able to get up to speed. But right now, I'm beginning to wonder, like, at least it looks like the rear wing damage isn't that bad, but that's how it looks. I mean, it might actually be slowing him down here a little bit because he's had some trouble getting his speed back up to where it was.
Well, Finch will be hoping he's able to get within DRS range as they come around to the back straight here, down the hill, 190 miles an hour right before they hit the braking zone for turn 1, working lap 21 of 36, now 15 laps left to go. Pev using more of that runoff area, they give him a better run through the turn, but now Finch will get a better run up the hill, even if he's unable to use DRS, which he should be. He'll have a nice slipstream here.
Yep, there's that DRS kicking in.
Yep, and he's going to look to the outside as they come into the carousel. He's trying to use the banking, but I think he may have overdrove it, and Pev will maintain third place for now. Meanwhile, Stephen Walter, I believe, he's in the pits right now. He just had a bit of an accident.
And he's called it a day, but Finch doing his best right now to try to get around Pev, and he's just not having any luck.
He's going to try down the inside as they go down the hill here, off Camberton. Very tricky, wheels touching, but Finch pulls it off. No, Pev is not going to give it up without a fight.
Ooh, once again, almost make contact.
It's like watching cup cars race around here at the Watkins Glen course.
Hey, except there you get away with a little bit of fender rubbing, but in this, that would have been disaster for both of those guys. They come away, though, and move Finch back up into a podium spot.
Yeah, well, Pev is going to have the DRS here. And what's Pev going to do? He's definitely not willing to give up his podium position. Pev not worried about a championship. Finch is up there in the points, but things so spread out anyway. I'm sure he'd just rather prefer the podium.
Ooh, Pev does a great job at trying to squeeze him and force Finch's choice of lines going through the carousel, but now going down into the boot through turn 6 and eventually here into the chute. That's going to be another place where Finch might be able to try to get a look, but he's not close enough.
Currently, we have a positive team score 1, 2, 3. All 3 steps on the podium. Toto Wolff, eat your heart out, but Pev definitely trying to train track.
Yeah, apologies to the rest of the field right now. This Finch and Pev battle, this is the closest battle on the racetrack right now. And so they're trying to keep that 1, 2, 3 podium finish here, podium wrap up for their team going. But Pev trying to do his best, but now starting to lose a little bit of ground to Finch.
Yeah, 14 cars left in this race, 13 of them running on the lead lap. Azriel Nasli, who had a bit of an incident early, is currently limping around 1 lap down, but still in 14th place, which isn't bad considering he started this race in 19th. Who is going to end up with third place? I think Pev's a bit further back here. He's not going to be able to challenge Finch this time by. So, of course, the new big question, Adam, is are we done with pit stops?
Well, some of these guys came in a little bit before halfway, so we'll see. But I don't know, but I would think they are, but I was also wrong about them trying a no-stop strategy, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not the best person to ask, but I would think that they're done here at this point.
Good battles around the racetrack. A trade for 7th place between teammates. Luca Furlick goes ahead of Ollie Croker. What about 9th position? Those two are quite close on course as well. Bruno Canavas currently holding on ahead of David Cudmore. Nice race by Ollie Croker, by the way. I know. Oh, and as I say that, he almost loses his rear end. He was just able to hold on to it. But Ollie Croker, I know he's been able to gain some time through short pitting, and he may have a second stop left, especially if that's how his rear tyres are behaving. You watch this. But he started 16th. He's up to 7th.
Yeah, quite a few good moves there, also taking advantage of some other people's misfortune, but putting himself in good position to be able to do that. But you're right. I mean, the way he's driving right now, he's driving like a man possessed, and I think it's killing those rear tires.
Battle for third still on. Nothing happening right now. Coming around to complete 2/3 race distance. If you were planning the optimal two-stop strategy, this would be where you'd come in. 24 laps down, 12 to go.
And don't look now, but Pev's car is starting to come back into play. DRS also kicking on for him, so he's now almost right back underneath the rear wing of Harrison Finch.
So Jorge Montañez currently leading the field. Montañez started this race in third place. He got second off of the line when Finch did not get a good start. He yielded that position to Finch once he ran him back down. But then when Finch and race leader Ricardo Orozco had poor pit stop performances, he was able to capitalize. And the battle for ninth. Oh, things have gotten ugly here. Canavas has a bit of front wing damage on his McLaren. These two were behaving themselves so well. They'd been running nose to tail. I'd kind of taken my eye off of it because I had the feeling they were just content to run like this for a little while. But not the case, apparently. What happens here? Oh.
Almost just kind of decides to move him a little bit.
But neither car came into the pits at the end of this lap, so they're going to try and ride that damage out. Man, they got away pretty good.
They did. A little bit of wall contact there, but that could have been much worse, especially given the speed at that section. So they came away. They should be able to finish the race there with what they got. Meanwhile, Pev starting to put the pressure on Harrison Finch.
Yeah, Pev is currently the fastest car on track. Jorge Montañez leading this race. His lap times just dropped back down into the 1:20s. Brzezina runs in 1:20, and Finch was a 1:19.7. Pev was a 1:19.7 as well. Those two 9 seconds back of our overall race leader Montañez, but the possibility of another strategy call. No, 10 laps left to go. You'd have to be able to make 2 seconds up a lap. Pitting now. We may have gone by that window for a second stop to be worth it.
Yeah, I think you're right. This race is going to be quickly coming to a close here. So now's the time, though, too, that, yeah, the second stop possibly out the window. You need to be focused on what you got, and Pev trying to do just that. It just seems like he's able to get right there, but then falls off just a little bit. And that kind of goes back to the aerodynamics of these cars that we were talking about earlier. Even though they're the lower downforce version of what is out there in real-world F1 right now, these cars still have a little bit of a wake behind them. It's still hard to run right up behind somebody and pass them.
One thing is that...
That lap car was way off the pace. Almost caught them by surprise. That's Azrael Nasli.
Yeah, one thing that's about to become very interesting is the battle for ninth. Let's not forget the drivers in 9th and 10th right now, Canavas and Cudmore, are sporting a bit of damage from a couple of laps ago. Well, the driver behind him, Sayafort Arifin, he was the last driver to make his pit stop, so he has the freshest tyres of anyone on track right now. He's got 2 damaged cars in front of him. He's been running about a second a lap faster than them. Arifin has got to be thinking about getting 9th place.
Hearing about another spin on track. Wheel spin. Okay, there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's a good program on the Global SimRacing Channel.
I like the plug there, Sam. That's good.
9 laps left to go as Montañez working his way through the last bit of the circuit. Now, Claudio Candio is coming in for second stop. He's kind of been running around in 12th place, so I have a feeling maybe his tyres were just going off. He's like, hey, I'm towards the back anyway. Let's just get some fresh tyres for the end of the race so I know I can make it there. Racing Farsal, maybe.
Now, we've been focusing so much on Finch and Pev here the last couple of laps. One thing that we're going to have to start watching is that Jan Brzezina has fallen off so much that, and those guys have really been pushing it. They're going to be almost up to him, so we can have a 3-car battle for second here shaping up here in the next few laps.
Brzezina has really been one of the unsung heroes of a race, which is saying something considering the fact he's in second, because he started back in 9th place and he's just had a clean, quiet race while all of the other drivers around him have been involved in some kind of battle or problem. And but that being said, could he drop back to 4th at the end here? Because I have a feeling Finch was going to be saying, hey, can you let me by easy, please, so I don't have to worry about Pev. But as soon as Finch gets by Brzezina, I think he's going to be a sitting duck for Pev.
Right now, they're all spread out pretty even with about 0.3 of a second between each of them here at this point. So that gap can close in a hurry if they're not careful. Meanwhile, you have to mention Montanez. I haven't talked about him here a little bit. That's because he's 7.5 seconds up in front of the field right now. So, but he's also himself starting to lose time as he's running 126s. I'm just thinking that he's just going to lose time. I mean, he might lose quite a bit of time, but I don't think anybody's going to be able to catch him. He's not losing that much at this with what's going on behind him, especially if those guys get to fighting each other.
Yeah, and you mentioned 126s. That's 120.6, not a 1 minute 26. Now that would be concerning. Meanwhile, pass on track here. We knew it, saw it was coming. The riffing up into 10th place. Oh, and the riffing goes around. Right in the blind spot of the circuit. Fortunately, no drivers coming around the turn, so he'll just lose that position.
It's another really hard place to keep the rear underneath you. That's where I was talking about earlier, about the rear kind of getting light and on the gas a little bit too much, and he's going to pay for it.
I have a feeling a lot of the remaining 7 laps of our broadcast here are going to be taken up by what's about to happen for second.
Yeah, these guys now. Oh, it's Brzezina. That car had to have been about a 30-degree angle there coming out of turn 11 for just a split second. He's able to pull it back and go straight. And I don't think he really lost any time at all compared to where he was. But Brzezina's car is a handful right now, Sam.
I really hope also that Pablo Suarez knows what's going on behind him. Hopefully he'll just pull off to the side, back off, and let all 3 of these by. Brzezina says thank you very much. It gives him an extra lap of DRS, being able to hold on to that second place. Nice driving by Suarez. He earns a bear claw from Bill Zahn's back. Oh, how do you say it, Adam?
Back marker United meeting.
Okay, back marker United. Oh, a riffing, more trouble. Oh boy, and Riffin's about to get going again, right ahead of that battle for second place.
But then this battle's going to go right by him too. Thankfully, he's able to get straightened out before it happens. But we got the replay here on the GSRC replay cam, and I think what you're going to see is the back end maybe come out on him here. Just in this for the first time here myself. So, and noses it into the wall. Hummels backs it up into the other wall, able to get it straightened out though before the leaders are able to get there.
Yeah, and I have a feeling even though he had fresher tyres than anyone else, when he had that one spin, it's just been compounded. The tyres a little bit over temperature, and another one, unfortunately, there. Good news, I think he has a pretty good cushion over Pablo Suarez for 12th place. No, he doesn't. Just a couple of seconds between them.
I'm watching Harrison Finch's car, so he's going to make a move on his teammate here before DRS even kicks in. He's making that move on his teammate. So that means he's able to use that DRS all the way down the back straightaway. But I was watching him through the S's there, and I think Finch's car is starting to become a little bit of a handful too. Yeah,
I think all on the closing stages here. That couldn't have been perfect. There was a bit of a gap between Finch and Pev right there. And Brzezina, teammates with Finch, he would have been looking for an opportunity, knowing that Finch was a lot faster than him, to limp Finch by without allowing Pev to catch them both up and overtake both of them. So now Brezina's just got to worry about fighting off rival Pev for the last 5 laps and a bit right now, while Finch can go on and get a decent 1-2 for the team. Will it be a 1-2-3 sweep? That is what Pev is going to try and prevent.
He's right there. If either one of these guys makes a mistake, Pev will be able to take advantage of it. But right now, Finch, now that he got back out in front of his teammate, then also with the aid of the DRS that last time by, he was able to get back out down into the 19-second range there, while Pev is starting to fall off just a little bit, but he also really didn't have that aid or the draft of the teammate there to help him out going down the back straightaway.
Yeah, will be interesting keeping an eye on Finch's and race leader Jorge Montañez's times in the final few laps. I doubt anything is going to come of it, but last lap around, Finch was half a second faster, but then again, he's over 6 seconds behind. Now, what's really working well for Brezina here is he's able to just use the DRS, use the slipstream off of his teammate Harrison Finch, and as a result, he's able to stop the bleeding of the time he's been losing the Pev back and forth.
Yeah, by quite a bit, actually. So now these Autosport teammates able to at least do a little bit of something as far as trying to work together. And it really seems like that once Brezina's car fell in behind Finch there, Sam, it doesn't seem like he's having to fight it as much. I think it's handling better for him here right now, maybe taking a little bit of air off that front wing.
Meanwhile, for 11th place, Pablo Suarez got by Saiful Arifin, who's struggling on those tyres that he spun twice during his final stint in 12th. Arifin is just going to be hoping to keep it clean to the end. Otherwise, Claudio Candio, who we saw put new tyres on in the late stages in the second stop, he's in 13th, and he might be thinking about 12th place by the end of this. Let's give a shout out to Bruno Canavas and David Cudmore. Remember, they picked up damage for their battle in 9th position, but they were able to hold off a challenge from Arifin after he had his spin, and it looks like they're going to finish where they were running before the whole incident took place.
Well, sometimes in racing, things just have a way of working out for the better, and that's kind of seems to what happened there. Even though they had a little bit of contact, they were able to come away when ultimately end up being okay.
Yeah, continue to go backwards up through the top 10 here, because these teammates running in 7th and 8th place got a bit of screen time today. Not as much as they deserve, though. Luca Ferlich started 10th and is up to 7th. Ollie Quoker, though, our big mover, he was up to 4th, I believe, at one point, but now he's slowly dropped back to 8th because he's got older tyres than the rest of the field. And one driver who's not going to be happy with how things panned out today, Ricardo Orozco, running in 6th position right now. Remember, we mentioned the pit delta was around 24 to 28 seconds. He is currently 25 seconds back of race leader Jorge Montañez after making that second pit stop for his crossing the pit exit line penalty. And consequently, you know, had he not had to serve that penalty, I think he'd be looking pretty in the lead up there right now.
Yeah, and that was just heartbreaking to see there out of Ricardo. And I know that's not what he wanted to have out of here for today, but at the very least, though, he will at least come home with some points, and that's better than the alternative, I think. Another guy that's had a really good day, Kyle Stani back there, running in 5th, up 2 positions from the start. And, you know, unless something happens with that front pack, then probably going to end up finishing in 5th, but still top 5 out of today. I think he'll take it.
Yeah, Pev, I don't know if it's because he lost the slipstream of the teammates ahead of him, but Pev just had a really slow lap around, a 1 minute 22.
Yeah, coming up out of turn 9 just a second ago. He almost looped it, and that's what cost him the 2 seconds right there. Did a very good job. In fact, you might be able to get a replay of it here. Did a very good job as far as pulling it back straight before the back end came all the way around. But I think any hopes he had of coming home with a podium here for today are going to be gone, Sam.
Very easy turn to make a mistake. A lot of people, I've heard so many people who race at this track, Adam, who say they love Watkins Glen. You know, they love the challenges it has, the racing it produces, the way it drives, with the one tiny little exception, something called turn 9.
Yeah, and like I was talking about, my experience mostly in sports cars through there is that it just the way you come up over that hill, you're just so light, and it's just so easy to put extra power down that you don't need, and the back end tries to come around on you. And on the flip side of that too is on older tires, it becomes even more of a handful. So it's just a tough corner. It's probably the toughest on the racetrack to me, next to turn 1. Turn 1's still the toughest for me.
It is the final lap for Jorge Montañez, about to lead home a positive team sport 1-2-3. Although granted, who is going to get second place? And we've got a couple on track. Pev is off from 4th place. So Pev will not finish in 4th. He has retired from the race. We'll get a replay of it later as the battle is on for 2nd. Brezina, I am sure, is not going to try anything too aggressive on Finch. Pev's retirement means it is now a positive team sport 1, 2, 3, 4 about to happen, because that will move Matteo Calistani up into 4th position. The battle for 2nd, I don't see how Brezina is going to be able to find a clean way by Finch in the last few turns. It would have to be something very aggressive, and I just don't see these teammates risking that with the accomplishment that these 4 drivers are about to pull off. Because Jorge Montañez, we've seen a lot of drivers slipping and sliding through the final few turns. He wasn't leading the first half of this race. He had to depend on a couple of drivers' misfortunes. But at the end of the day, he has ran a fantastic Grand Prix here at Watkins Glen. Montañez wins. Finch 2nd. Brezina 3rd. And Calistani will be unchallenged for 4th for a positive team sport 1, 2, 3, 4 here at Watkins Glen. And running 5th place will be Ricardo Orozco.
Yeah,
and different colours. Yeah, I wanted to clarify that. He is also a teammate of those guys.
Well, that works out, doesn't it? And just to let everybody know what happened with Pev, it looked like he ran out of gas, and I don't think he took enough. And just coming out of the corner right there, I think he ended up just 1 lap short on fuel because the engine starts to cut off. Coming out of turn 9, and he just kind of tried to keep it going to the front straight and just decided to pull off, and that was it.
Yeah, must have spudded right after pit entry there. All right, well, we are going to take a quick break. We will be back with a full race rundown and drive interviews here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Don't go away. It's the greatest day in racing. The Monaco Grand Prix, the iRacing Grand Prix Championship at Watkins Glen, the Indianapolis 500, and of course the Coca-Cola 600 for all of us over here in the United States. The race win of the first one, we're not going to mention because we don't want to give away F1 spoilers. Race win of the second race, Jorge Montañez. He takes it by 5.5 seconds over Harrison Finch. Teammates Jan Brzezina, Matteo Calistani, and Ricardo Orozco round out the top 5. Then another set of teammates back there in 6th and 7th. Nice solid runs from Luca Ferlich and Ollie Quoker today. Bruno Canavas and David Cudmore got into it, but they were still able to salvage 8th and 9th place finishes. Last cars on the lead lap. Pev will be ranked the first car 1 lap down in 10th.
Yeah, coming home in 11th here for today, Pablo Suarez, Saiful Arifin, who of course had a couple of spins out there. He's going to come home in 12th. Claudio Candio in 13th. Azrael Nowsley, another guy that had a few problems out there in his McLaren in 14th position. 15th going to belong to Stephen Walter. Manu Domingo in 16th position. Marco Carmatardi in 17th. Bill Frazier 18th. CM Skinner, unfortunately, had that accident, ended up on his lid in 19th position. Amir Ghani also had a few problems in 20th. And to round out the field, not taking the grid here for today, was Richard Driscoll.
All right. Well, we have our top contenders here for podium interviews. Let's start off with Mr. Harrison Finch, our second place finisher. Well, Harrison Finch, you started second. You didn't get off to the best of starts, but then you could have been in position to win this in a speeding penalty, I'm gathering.
Yeah, I didn't practice the pit entry, and then I just went way over. I think I was like 130 or something on entry, so that's like double the speed limit.
What about the finish for your team, though? I believe, unless I'm mistaken here, this is a positive team sport 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have you guys ever enjoyed something like that before?
I'm not sure, but yeah, it was a great effort from all the team. We've all been working pretty hard this week. I didn't get to put as much laps in as usual, but everyone else been a lot of laps to make a good setup and get the perfect strategy. So yeah, good job from everyone in the team.
You sound a little down. Were you really hoping you'd be the one first to cross the line there?
Yeah, I'm just a bit annoyed that I made that mistake, because if I didn't make that mistake, I think I would have won quite easily. But yeah, it's my fault, so I can't really blame anyone for it. I just have to learn for next time.
All right, well, we got one race left this season, and that's going to be at the Imola circuit next week. What are you going to be going for the victory again now, I would assume? Yeah,
I'll have to, especially if Tommy turns up, because I think the championship's really close now. It's going to go down to that last race. So yeah, I'll be practicing as much as I can. And hopefully he'll be enough to win the championship.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Mr. Finch, and we'll see you at Imola.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for broadcasting again. It's been a good season so far. So yeah, thanks for that.
Well, that was Harrison Finch. Didn't sound like he was too happy there, Amjad, with that second place finish. But sorry, Adam, with that second place finish. But I think Jan Brzezina, who you've called up with for third place, he's going to be quite satisfied with his first podium of the year.
Yeah, of course, we'll get Jan in here into the booth. And Jan, great finish here for today, sitting on the podium. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your race.
Hi, guys. Thank you. Can you hear me? This is the first place.
Yeah, you're coming across loud and clear.
That's perfect. Hi, guys. Thank you. Well, the race was amazing. I was very bad in qualification because that's my constant problem. But somehow I made my way up. Few guys retired because of driving the car. And yeah, this week we had a great cooperation within the team, so it helped me to practice a bit more. And luckily, actually, I made it to the first split, which was not happening a couple of last weeks. So pleasure to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit. I mean, as far as their later stages of the race, were those rear tires starting to become a little bit of a trouble for you?
Not really, because I was controlling this with in-car dials, so I made a good modification especially during the second stint. Actually, I feel a little bit more understeer on the front than on the rear. Tires on this cold condition, no problem at all.
All right, so great finish for your team here for today. You gonna be able to repeat all that in Imola here in next week?
Yeah, Imola is my favorite track, at least as per the last season. So I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully I will make it to the first split and be with you guys in the broadcast.
All right. Well, hey, we hope to see you here next week, and good luck. Now, with that, I think Sam, Jorge Montanez took a little bit getting here. I think he was spraying some champagne everywhere, and so I think Sam's going to go ahead and catch up with him now that he's arrived.
Yeah, here is our race winner, Jorge Montanez. Jorge, you won earlier this season at Nürburgring. This one was a little tougher to get.
Yeah, it was difficult because I was slower than my teammates. But at the end, I'm pretty happy with the result, but not so much with the second stint. I was pretty slow, but yeah, I repeat the result at Nürburgring. And now let's try again at Imola.
We noticed the last couple of races you haven't been on top form, and from what it sounded like, myself reading your comments in the chat, you were having difficulty with the tire temperatures and a couple of extreme conditions we saw during those races. Is that a place you think you need to work on? Is managing these tires a little bit better, or do you think that they were just a couple one-offs?
I try to manage the car balance more than the tire wear. So when I was losing the tires, I preferred to waste more in the front, and I pretty solved it. But yeah, today it was too understeery, and it was better than the last times, but it still I have to work more.
All right, well, it's always good to take a look back. You know, the races that you don't win make you a stronger driver, and maybe that helped you contribute to getting the win here today. Do you think you can get one more in you by the end of the season at Imola?
I don't think so, because Imola is not my favorite circuit, but let's try that.
All right, well, thanks for coming to talk to us all. Hey, congratulations on your win, and we look forward to seeing you again at Imola.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That was our race winner, Jorge Montanez. Well, on the greatest day of racing here today, Adam, I say we saw a pretty great race up there. Not exactly a battle for the win at the end, but there were drivers keeping each other honest throughout the whole race. And boy, did those pit stops come into play.
They really did, and mistakes took a role. But even with the mistakes, I mean, you were able to see a potential 3-car battle for second almost shape up there right at the end of the race. So you can't ask for a better Grand Prix at Watkins Glen here today.
All right, and with that, we are going to wrap up this broadcast, and I think a lot of people have been DVRing the Monaco Grand Prix. Looking forward to watching that. We've got more action coming up here late on the Global SimRacing Channel as well, so be sure to check that out. Of course, great thing about YouTube, you can always watch it back if you can't watch it live. But we've got a lot of people we would like to thank here today, including the iRacing Grand Prix Series community for coming out and putting on a fantastic show today. There's a special thanks to Jan Bazina, as well as all of these individuals on screen who have donated to help make this show happen. Additional thanks goes out to all of the companies that provide us with the software and the hardware that we use during our broadcasts. And now you will see them listed here on your screen. Also, we would like to thank Erica Coleman and Casey Lalonde who provide us with our music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Armdred and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel, and we're also now on Instagram at GSRC_gram. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss another second of exciting racing action. Our next race, as we mentioned, will be the season finale next week at Imola, We also have upcoming races for our other series listed on screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, we'll see you on the track.